Hey guys and girls, my name is Alan and welcome to today's video. So as I mentioned in a previous video, I think it was one of my earlier pack opening ones, I did say I was going to do an introduction to Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer. Now, I did a similar sort of thing for ME3, except I did it as a blog post on my blog. So this time around I'm going to try doing a video instead, and obviously you'll have a visual representation on the screen to see, so hopefully it'll be better for you as well. I'm going to talk about the basics because I don't think the game explains it very well. If you've played Mass Effect 3 before, it's very similar, so you're coming into it, you only have to learn maybe another 20% or so about how the new game operates. But if obviously you're starting from afresh, or if you've never played a Mass Effect game before and this is your first outing into multiplayer, then it can be a little bit daunting. And I found myself sometimes, as I said, even though I'm a veteran of ME3 multiplayer, sometimes I find myself wondering, what this does, what that does, and why is this not explained better, and so on and so forth. So I can only imagine as a beginner how overwhelming it could all be potentially. So I'm going to try and break it down into small little bits and just give you the basics to get you started. Alright, so I guess we should just start from the very beginning. So what is the multiplayer? It's PvE, which basically means it's co-op multiplayer. So you're not playing against other human players, you're playing with human players against AI opponents. The AI opponents you face will be the same ones as the ones that you faced in single player. So it'll be the same factions, and it'll be, they'll have the same sort of powers, the same sort of capabilities. The one mistake that a lot of people make when they first play multiplayer is they assume that the difficulty that they choose to play on in multiplayer is the same as difficulty in single player. Wrong. Do not make that assumption. So when you go into multiplayer, you can jump into a match straight away. I don't recommend doing this, by the way. But there's bronze difficulty, silver, gold, and random. Random obviously just picks one of these three and puts you into the match. Don't do random. That's just asking for trouble. As a beginner, doesn't matter how experienced you are, even if you've come from ME3 multiplayer, you're going to want to start on bronze to get a feel for it. And trust me, myself and a lot of other people who've come in from Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, really experienced. I mean, I've done a platinum solo on Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. I started on bronze and I still found it difficult. So don't assume it's going to be easy. Start at the beginning and work your way up. In single player, you'll never face as many enemies in any given situation compared to multiplayer, and you'll always have two AIs and a very big map to run away and a lot of cover to use. Multiplayer is not like that. The maps are a lot smaller, there's not as many places to run to. You're playing with other human players and they might be worse than you. Bear that in mind. So while you've got two competent AI players in single player, in multiplayer you might be the best player on your team even though you're just starting out. Just let that sink in for a minute there. Okay, so before you jump into a match, obviously there's several things you want to do first. So the first thing I'd recommend is do the tutorial mission. It's very short, it's only a couple of minutes. Doesn't teach you a lot, to be honest. When they say teach you the basics, they mean the absolute bare basics. They're assuming that you have some experience of the game already, so if you haven't, I'd probably recommend playing a couple of hours of the multiplayer, just get a feel for the combat system and movement system, because it is a bit different in this game compared to previous Mass Effect games. And then play the tutorial mission. That only teaches you a fraction of what you need to know for multiplayer, so even though you might pass that with flying colours, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So once you complete the tutorial mission, they will give you a free pack, so there's no reason for you not to do it to get the free pack. And then you can move on to doing these. So as you can see, there's a bunch of tiny little things that you can do, and you can read this for yourself in your own game. But basically, once you complete each of these, they give you a small amount of credits, and they give you eventually you'll unlock the tutorial challenge pack, which is actually, so that one's a bronze one, that's a silver one. I mean, obviously you can't complain because you've just started, but a free pack is a free pack. So work on those two. That's the first thing I would do. Now, you might be wondering where you get the packs from. So if you go down to store, and then as you can see, you can buy packs separately. So you can either buy them with real world money, which is Andromeda points, or you can buy them in-game currency, which is multiplayer credits. Multiplayer credits are separate to single player credits, so ignore what you've got in single player. Multiplayer is completely separate. You learn credits from completing missions, and you'll also earn them from completing those initial challenges. You don't actually complete them for any other challenges, just those initial ones to get you started. Now when you get your rewards, they'll be in the rewards menu. I don't have any, obviously they're not there. Item store, this is connected to strike teams, and I've already done a separate video talking about strike teams and Apex missions. It's on the channel. I've linked it in the description. I'll also link it on the screen now for more detail about strike teams and why you should take part and sort of have a bit of an interest in it, is explained in that video. So head over to that video after this video and watch that one, and that all explained in there, so I won't go over it again. So once you've claimed your freebies from the store, you might have picked up 1 or 2 weapons if you're lucky, or 1 or 2 new characters. So the next thing that you want to do is go to character selection. So In multiplayer, you get the same sort of characters as you would in single player. So you've got Soldier, you've got Vanguard, you've got Adept, Engineer, Sentinel, and my preferred class for beginners, Infiltrator. Read them up, see which one you prefer. If you've had single player experience, this will help you make a decision into which characters you pick. So as I said, I would personally go for the Infiltrator because it's got the cloak, and that helps you to get away, also helps you to get around the map unseen, and also to revive teammates. Obviously I'll leave that decision up to you. Okay, so let's say I pick this character, and just like in single player, you've got powers to upgrade. Unlike single player, which has plenty of options for powers and trees and all the rest of it, in multiplayer you'll only ever have 5. So you'd have 3 powers and then 2 passives. Now passives can increase things like health and melee damage, and then the other passive would increase things like power and weapon damage. And then you've got 3 powers, so infiltrators will always have a cloak, vanguards will always have biotic charge. Each class has their own unique thing. So once you pick the character you want to use, you then assign points. You do get 2 points to start off with when you first join multiplayer, so you'll have a point in each of the powers and you'll have 2 more to put where you wish. I would recommend putting them into the passives, 1 in each, and then you've got 1 in each of the 5 trees ready to get going in multiplayer. Alright, so now you've picked your class, now you've put your points where you want to put them. Now it's time to kit out that class or that character. So then you go down to character customization, and as you can see, there's a page for your weapons, there's a page for your boosters, a page for your skills, which, well, you would have already done, but I guess you can do it here as well. And then this is just cosmetics, so you can change the color of your outfit or whatever, but I wouldn't worry about that too much to start off with. So once you're on the weapon page, as you can see, there are 2 slots, so you can bring 2 weapons. A lot of beginners seem to think that bringing more is better, and it makes them seem more experienced. Quite the opposite. Some character kits do a lot of their killing via their powers, so some players will bring 1 weapon and they'll just use that occasionally on the bosses, and that's it. Some classes require bringing a lot of weapons because they might go through a lot of ammo, so it all depends on what character you've picked and what sort of build that character you've shaped it to be. So either a power kit or a weapons kit or something in between, that's what you bring accordingly. Now just like in single player, you do have a weight limit, so bringing more is not always better. For example, I brought 2 here because I'm only just a smidge over the 100% cooldown rating, so that's not going to make a difference to me, not really. But I could happily bring just 1 of these weapons because most of the time I don't even use both, I just use 1 or the other. So obviously you pick a weapon just like you do in single player, so assault rifles, pistols, snipers, shotguns. As a beginner you'll only have the basic weapons, so you'll have the Avenger, which is a pretty good choice I suppose. The Charger, which is an SMG. The spread on it is crazy, but good rate of fire, so you can spray and pray I suppose. I don't recommend bringing the Sniper because it is not very good. But if you don't believe me, give it a try. And you can also bring a shotgun, but again the katana is very weak, so I would probably bring the Charger or the Avenger as my recommendation. So once you pick your weapons, you can then also mod them if you've been lucky enough to unlock any. So the mods again work similar to how they work in single player. Just read the descriptions obviously if you're not too familiar what they do. And again, it's only with testing them out whether you know if they're any good or not. I've only got 2 mods anyway, so I'll put them both on, 1 in each slot. Bearing in mind that mods can affect weight of the weapon as well, so just bear that in mind when you equip it. And as I said, you don't need to bring 2 weapons, you can bring 1, that's fine. Okay, the one on the right hand side is not a weapon, it's a piece of equipment. Equipment is detailed in that other video I talked about, Apex missions and strike teams. Equipment cannot be bought anywhere other than the item list from the store. So you'll never get equipment from any of these packs because they're just not in the pool. The only place you can buy equipment from is this list. And this list here can only be bought, well, stuff can only be bought from this list using mission funds. Top right hand side of the screen. As I said, this is all explained in the Apex mission slash strike teams explanation videos. So if you want more information about that, head over to that video, check it out afterwards, and it's all explained there, so I won't cover it again here. But basically every single character you can equip weapons and a piece of equipment. So before you go into battle, make sure you've got those ready to go. On the next page, these are boosters. Now boosters are 1-use consumables. So you equip something, so let's say I put on an ammo type. Again, these work similar to single player, or if I want to put on like a rare lamp or something, or you know, something to do with shields or powers or mods, just whatever. So you equip it, let's say I put it on, and there it is. And basically, once you start a match, it gets used straight away. If you lag out, if you rage quit, if you flatline and your team gets wiped, it's gone. So it's good for one use and one use only, but fortunately, as you can see, you do get quite a lot. So find something that works for you and then equip it. But again, you won't know what works or what's good until you actually try it. I should say that you don't have to use a booster if you don't want to, but as a beginner, you probably want to get as much damage as you can out from your setup. So don't be afraid to use them, because as I said, you do get quite a lot. Just like weapons, you can bring 2 boosters along. So let's say I choose ammo for the first one. I could then choose, if I wanted to, a rare lamp. It's better. I should probably also say that, as obvious as it might seem, don't put on an assault rifle rare lamp if you don't actually have an assault rifle. Pick an amp that you actually got for your weapon, and same with powers as well. Don't pick biotic amp if you haven't got a biotic character, which I haven't got. I've got no biotic powers here whatsoever, so yeah, it might seem obvious, but don't do that. And then on the right hand side, as you can see under supplies, these are 4 consumables that you can carry into battle. Now, if you've watched one of my multiplayer games before, you'll notice on the bottom left hand side of the screen on the D-pad, it's up for co-operative, down for self-revive medigel, left for a first aid kit, right for ammo pack. And basically you can carry up to a maximum of 5 of these into battle at any one time, so you could use any of those at any point whenever you want to. You won't start with 5, initially you'll start with 2, but then you can unlock the capacity of carrying more as you buy packs from the store, so they will come naturally. Don't be stingy with them, but don't overuse them as well, because they are on a limited supply, and when you first start you won't have many to begin with. So use them of course if necessary, but don't use them carefree, because you might need them for example later waves or higher difficulties. It all depends on your stockpile. I don't know how many you've got. As you can see, I've got quite a few, but I've opened quite a few packs, so I can't really say. The thing about multiplayer is, I guess it's similar to in single player in that there's a lot of experimentation. You're going to unlock a load of new weapons, you're going to unlock a load of new powers via new character kits, and you're not going to know all of them. And even if you do know all of them, you don't know how effective they are in battle until you actually try it for yourself. And that's one of the good things about this game, is that there's a lot of variety. So you can build whatever class you want, you can bring whatever weapons you want, and you can spec your trees however you want. And it's not until you actually use it in battle that you know whether it's effective or not effective. And so as a beginner, there's quite a lot being thrown at you, and you have to sort of just take it all in. But you'll learn after the first match, after the second match, and so on and so forth, what weapons work for you, what weapons don't work for you, what powers work for you, what powers don't work for you. Again, what's good against certain enemies, what's not so good against certain enemies, and you'll just pick that up as you play. It's a game where you have to sort of invest time to get the most from it. It's not like Call of Duty where you can just jump into a match with pretty much any gun, and if you're a decently skilled player, you'll just wreck the field. You know, it's not that sort of game, so be prepared to invest a little bit of time. If you want to stick with what you know from single player, then by all means do that first and then see how you go. But as I said, you've got a bunch of characters to start you off with. These are all the basic ones, but I mean, if you spec them correctly, they can still do a pretty decent amount of damage. I mean, even though I've unlocked these uncommon classes, I'm still using my infiltrator because I like using her, and she does a lot of damage, and I can do pretty well, so why would I not use her, right? So it's all down to you, personal preference.